What's going on, world? AJ here, and welcome back to a new episode of AJ Tech. And we're finally doing it. I'm finally just going to do it. I'm just going to bite the bullet. We're going to make this work. We're going to figure it out. But we're talking about Twingate. Ooh, yeah, I'm excited for this one. Excited for this? I'm excited for this. Get yourself a beverage, sit back, relax. Let's rabbit hole into the world of Twingate. Welcome to my Twingate episode. Now, I'm not going to go thoroughly into on how to deploy and install Twingate, all right? Because I want you to do it yourself. I want you to, I'll at least walk you through the steps on how to, but I'm not actually going to deploy it here in this episode. Because I want you, as a person who's wanting to learn how to do this, learn on your own. Figure it out on your own, because that's what I did with Twingate. Now, I watched Network Chuck's episode. He walked through how to do it on Docker, but I didn't have Docker, so I did it through Linux. And I did a lot of research and followed through the steps on Twingate's actual website, because it does explain it to you. It does help you do that. But I also use Copilot, too, to help me AI my way through getting it to work. Because you're going to run into some troubleshooting areas when you do deploy this, and that's a good learning experience for you all. That's a good learning experience for me as well, because this is what this is. This is a labbing opportunity for you, for me. But let's start off with what Twingate is. Twingate is simply this. It is a zero trust network access, or ZTNA, platform that organizations use to give employees secure remote access to internal applications, servers, and services without using the traditional VPN, like Palo Alto or Surfshark VPN or ExpressVPN. Man, I've been trying to think of that name for some time. But a lot of times when we think about VPNs, which is basically a virtual private network, when we think about VPNs, we download it because we want to be able to watch shows on Netflix that are locked by region or whatever the case may be. That's pretty much what they typically advertise VPNs for, but really it's an encryption. It encrypts your data, it encrypts your link on your environment to, keep you safe from hackers or threats or whatever it may be. Companies like my company, we use a VPN to tunnel in to gain access to company resources, the company's network. So like if I work remotely, I have to use a VPN to be able to access the company's resources. That's pretty much what that is. And this is similar to a VPN, but it's not a VPN. It's a zero trust network access. All right, so in other words, ZTNA. So it's commonly described as the modern replacement for legacy VPNs designed for today's cloud-first and remote work environments. So the core idea behind zero trust, instead of a VPN, traditional VPNs work by putting a user inside the corporate network once they connect. That often means broad network access, exposed attack surfaces, slower connections due to backhauling traffic. Twingate takes a different approach called zero trust. No user or device is trusted by default. Every access request is evaluated in real time. Users only get access to specific resources, not the entire network. So let's just say there's a specific application or a specific server that, man, I just want Jim Bob to only have access to a Linux server and nothing more. You could deploy that for that reason. So it basically isolates the resources, not giving access to an entire network. I mean, yes, in our company, you don't have full access to everything because there's still permissions, there's still access folders to allow access to and all that stuff. But in this case, you get accesses to not just the entire network. You don't get access to an entire network. You just get a specific resource when it comes to Twingate. Hope that makes sense. I'm hoping I'm making sense over here. If I'm not, drop your comments in below to help me out here. But anyways, so just overall, in VPN, you get access to the entire network, even though there is restrictions with permissions and such with it. You're on the environment, but for Twingate, you're only allowed access to certain things in an environment. You're not actually in the environment, you're allowed access to certain items in the environment. So Twingate actually does this at a high level. Twingate securely connects users directly to the apps or services they're allowed to use, keeps internal resources hidden from the public internet, uses identity, device posture, and context to decide access. Key characteristics explicitly described in resources. It is delivered as a software as a service platform, or SaaS. Yeah, get sassy with you. With a central admin console, end users install a client app on their device to connect securely. So like for company devices, you have to install a VPN, that specific company VPN, and of course, web portal to get into the network. This case, you do need to install, again, Twingate application to be able to grant access into a specific assigned resource. So they're similar but different, all right? Connections are encrypted end to end. So pretty much that's it in a nutshell when it comes to Twingate. So going over here, I have pulled up here a test environment. This is not live. This is just a test environment because I'm going to try to protect my actual environment as much as possible because there's a lot of things that could be exposed. So I'm going to kind of walk through on how to do this. So first things first, when you log into here, you'll create an account and so forth. You'll set, however you want to authenticate into it. I have authentication to where I can get into this. So you'll first things first is deploy a connector. So you'll go here, and this is where you'll start out with is the connector. This is where it's going to connect you to Twingate to your resource. So I, again, deployed into Linux. Now there's many different methods. Network Chuck did Docker. He did Docker through his video. I followed along up to that point and I decided I got to stop. I can't follow you through Docker process because I want to do it on Linux. So this is kind of where I deviated from his video and started going through the process here. Now, if you click on Linux here, because that's what I'm going to walk you through, again, if you want to do a different option, if you have Docker, if you have Azure, whatever, you'll need to figure out how to do that. Again, it'll walk you through the process. It'll have a video on the side over here for you that will definitely help you out. But it'll give you the step-by-step processes and explanations. You'll generate tokens. You'll get a command line here that you'll copy to a clipboard. Of course, you'll want to go to your environment and pull up the terminal for, like I said, this is Linux, and you'll drop it in here. You'll hit enter. It'll run the installer directly to your Linux server, computer, whatever. Again, pretend this is my Linux server right here, all right, that I have pulled up. This is my desktop terminal that's running Ubuntu using WLS, Windows Linux subsystem. But you'll go to your actual machine and you'll run the scripting there and deploy it there. Once that's done, you'll wait for the connection right here. After running the deployment command, the connector should automatically connect to Twingate. If you're still having trouble, double check that you're following our best practices. So again, there's going to be some trial and error because at first when I did this, it didn't really work properly. And I had to go back through and, okay, what did I screw up at? What did I miss? And that's the greatest part when it comes to tech, when it comes to IT, when it comes to anything like this, is figuring out the errors, figuring out the things that are going wrong and troubleshooting those. So this is where Copilot came into play. I used Copilot from this point forward, once trying to figure out, okay, what did I do wrong? Okay, and we finally got it. We eventually got it. Because a lot of it was actually firewall rules based. So I had to go set up on my actual Linux server to allow certain ports that I want to allow. So let's talk about that. But before we talk about that, the next step would be to download Twingate into your machine that you're going to use to, access the resources. So say a laptop. You can even use a iOS phone right here. So if you click download Twingate, it's going to give you these options here. Windows automatically is the top dog right here, but there's other platforms. If you have a Mac OS, this is where you go here. If you have Linux, another Linux computer, this is where you can go here. Chrome. Who has Chrome? Seriously, throw it away. iOS, Android. You can download the app out of the App Store right here by looking up in the App Store to be able to access your resources. And it'll download onto your desktop like right here. This is where I have it living. It's also living down here as well. As you can click on it, you can see that it's connected and so forth. So once that is done, you'll also want to create a resource. So if you go here, create more resources, this is where the port rules will come into play. Okay? So I've got a couple things here. So we're going to type in server 2 because I already created a couple other things from practicing and such. But you'll go here, you'll type in the domain name or CIDR or IP address. So we're just going to make up an IP address. So 192.168.1.35. Just make it up here. And then we're going to go here to ports because we want to specify port rules. So ports, it's going to open this up here. TCP, it's all set for allow right now. Everything's set for allow. So under TCP, I'm going to actually switch it to custom because I want it to be restricted on certain ports. So if I'm going to RDP or remote desktop in, you're going to want to type in port 3389. If you want to use the web browser, for example, you can type in port 5000. Those are the only ports I use for my services. You can do other ports if you want. You can do port 443 if you want. For example, port 443. All right, that's for HTTPS. All right, or if you want an unsecure, port 80, HTTP. Okay. So just a couple examples here, but you want to customize it because you don't want to have all ports open because that's not secure, all right? UDP, I don't allow UDP at all. I block it. Nobody wants UDP. So you want to learn something here? Here's a little network sidebar note for you, all right? Between TCP and UDP. TCP is connection oriented. What that means is it wants to make sure it delivers your package, your information, and that it gets to you. All right, so think of a postman, for example, some delivery driver. You get a package that is one that you have to sign off on. You have to be home for, you have to be signing off for. So they get to your house, they knock on the door, you answer, they get you the package, you sign off on the paper, package delivered. All right, you acknowledge it's been delivered. So there's a sync and there's an acknowledgement that takes place behind closed doors. All right. So basically it makes sure you get it and you acknowledge that you get it. UDP, think of a newspaper person, delivery boy or whatever. They just chuck it at you. They chuck it at your house in hopes of the best. That's it. That's all they do. They just chuck it. That's the difference between TCP and UDP. TCP is a delivery service driver to make sure you get that the package is handed off to you and you sign up for it. And UDP, man, they just throw it at you. All right. And if it lands, it lands. If it doesn't, oh well. If it breaks, it breaks. That's how UDP acts. And of course, I do allow ICMP. I don't block it. I just go ahead and allow it. And from there, I basically just create the resource. That way, hey, look, there's my server right there. It popped up. And now you get to group accesses. So you can select the group that you want, grant access to those individuals who are in that group to get access to that machine. It's only me in that one. I probably should rename it and say everyone because it's only just one person in that group and that's me. Only I have the access to the resources. But that's where the next step comes in. Going back to our dashboard here, create a group. So if you want to create a group, for example, let's just say the AJ Show team, for example, you can add the group, and there it is. But now, there's no users in here, so we would want to add users. This is where you can add users. So You can send invites to users. Well, actually, this is where you can select your users. Add one user. Bam. Now we got a user in this group. All right, cool. So, and then this is where you can add the resources for whatever device that you want. So if you click add resource, let's do server 2. We're going to give them that resource. So now this person here, myself, in this test lab email environment, now can only access server 2. But as you can see, there's 2 other resources here. You got a lab machine, you got a server. Can I access those? No, I can't access those because I'm not part of that group. I only have access to the server. Now, if I want to gain access to that, here you go. Can add it. Boom. So if you click on these 3 dots, you can set policies, you can set expirations on how long this is going to be available for. You can set auto lock. Oh crap, what did I do? I don't know what I did. Let's go back. You can set auto lock for however many days. You can set request access. Oh, this is where it requires approval. So that's pretty sweet right there. I like that. Security, man. Zero trust. That's what it all comes down to. All right. You can also click here, remove access. Boom. You want to remove users? Here it is, remove from group. Boom. Done. Now there's no users in this group. Same thing. You disable the group or you can delete the group. We're going to go ahead and delete the group just to showcase that. So you got a lot of flexibility and control. As an as an administrator for this, I would say there's probably a systems type of administration, or it could be a network administration thing since it's allowing access into devices. Either way, it could go either way on this one. And then if you go up here, you can look at the devices. You know, this is like where you could add devices for your stuff. I'm going to go to my actual account actually for this. Hang on just a moment. So this is my actual Twingate account here. And as you can see, these are the authorized devices that are allowed access to Twingate. So this is where I've downloaded and installed, you know, the Twingate system here to where I can authenticate and allow access into things. So this is it right here. So I have it on my iPhone, I have it on my laptop, I have it on my desktop, and it shows I'm online with it currently on my desktop. I'm connected at the moment. It shows who's the owner, this is the user. It shows this is the version that is running. Looks like that needs to be updated. Yep, looks like it needs updated. What version of Windows it's running on? 10. What the heck? What? I don't understand that at all. It should be 11. Name of devices and such. So yeah, that's pretty sweet right there to check out. If we go under policies, I'm going to showcase policies real quick here. This is where you can set policy rules. In order to access these resources, I have set for where iOS version minimum. So I have a set for, we just click in it, to where it needs the fully allowed for iOS 26. Can't be anything older. If you don't have iOS 26, you can't use the resources. You can't access it. So those are the policies set. I also have a set for Windows 11. Only allow Windows 11 users. If you have Windows 10, sorry, you can't use the resources. You're not allowed to use it. Windows Server 22 says fully allowed. You know what? I want to block it because I don't have it. Boom. That's how you can set policies. You can create a new policy here based on the type of operating system. You can do Mac OS, iOS, Linux, Android, Windows, different types of policy and rules. That's why I have iOS. I have a Windows 11 rule. And then you could toggle these things here on and off if you like. Going back to the dashboard on the test environment, of course, right here is where you can add users. You can send an email invite to a user to allow them to onboard onto your service. They'll get the invite, they'll click the link, whatever they get, to authorize themselves to allow access to Twingate's resources into your company's portal or home lab environment or whatever it may be. You can sync identity provider right here. Yeah, not 100% sure about that, but you can sync it. I haven't played with it this far. Like I said, there's some things about Twingate that I haven't fully experienced, that I haven't really fully played with, but this is about as far as I have gotten when it comes to Twingate. Are you ready to see it in action? Because I'm ready to showcase you what we could do with it. So here at my desktop, we have an icon down here that is set up for a remote desktop connection. That is known as RDP, or remote desktop. So I have it set up for my server right here. I'm going to click connect. It's going to connect to the session. If you haven't authenticated in a while, it's going to prompt an authentication, and it'll take you to a web browser to authenticate. But since we've already authenticated, we're just going to go ahead and click yes to connect to a session. Here it is. I'm going to type in my password here to log into the Linux server. And this is it right here. This is my Linux server. This is what I use to access my lab environment, my lab server. This is where I can access my files. So like my Samba server is in here. So if I click on this public folder here, here's all like directly connected to my server system here. So I have a shortcut linked up to the desktop, but mainly I'm going to use command line here. So like, for example, if I need to update, holy cow, bring that down a little bit. So if I want to run an update into my, like on my system, like I need a system update. So we can do sudo abt update. We're going to type in our password here, and it's going to run the update script here and see if there's any updates going on. 2 packages can be upgraded. Run abt list upgradable to see them. So that's what I'm going to do. Sudo abt list -- upgradable, if I can type it in right. It's going to list them out. So we got 2 things that we could upgrade here for sure. Sudo abt upgrade Intel media via -driver. See if it does. Oh, it's doing it. Yeah, look at that. I guessed right on that one. It's pretty cool. All right, it's taking me down further here. Oh, okay, it's done. So let's do the other one real quick for just fun. Sudo abt upgrade. I don't know what that means, but here we go. We're running the script. Yes. I love Linux. It is so fun. I just like the command line, honestly. When you finally understand and learn command line, it gets so much fun. So much fun. I just absolutely love using command line for anything. So I'm going to go ahead and clear that screen. We're going to go ahead and exit out. But that's how you access your resources. So like I said, you can access your resources from anywhere in the world. So if you've got internet connection and Twingate running, you can access your resources anywhere. So like I could access my server out of state. So like I was in Wichita this past weekend. I could access my stuff remotely over there while the server is here in my house on premises. It is a fantastic tool to use. I encourage you to check out Twingate for yourself and run it, experiment with it. It is free to use, up to 5 users. Otherwise, you're going to start looking at pricing for, company-wise. But definitely want to lab with it. Definitely want to check it out for yourself. I highly recommend it. It is a fantastic resource. So with that being said, thank you guys so much for watching. Have yourselves a great day and take care.